How is everyone? Good.
I know Ralph.
Yes, well, yeah, I'm from Phoenix. This is a nice, cool day. So I'm here to answer questions, and I don't know, did anybody attend the assessment in May or watch the video? Is there anybody who didn't watch it, who didn't see it? So some of you, what we did is, to give you some quick background, is I've been working with the Utah Office of Tourism for the last 4 years. And by the way, you know Tina, we have Rachel Bremer over there. She works for the Utah Office of Tourism. This is part of her program, which is working in the rural community. So in May, the county, by the way, funded this half, and the Utah Office of Tourism funded 50% for us to come out and secret shop you, Price, and Helper. You going the wrong way?
No, you're fine.
And so we did that. And how this assessment works is we come in and we just secret shop you like any other visitor. We didn't talk to Tina first or anybody at Utah Office of Tourism. We just said, we're coming here like any other first-time visitor. We're going to see it and then tell you what we saw. And of course, we did come into Wellington. I can show you what we saw if you want me to go over that again, or we can answer questions. What's that?
I don't think it's very long, the parts.
Yeah, so let me just tell you what I thought of our secret shopping of Wellington. And the first thing is when we came into town, and by the way, I was with my wife. When you do an assessment, your secret shopping town, you have to do it with a woman riding shotgun or doing the driving, because women see things totally different than men. And women account for 80% of all the spending and 70% of decision of where we're going to eat, where we're going to live, where we're going to work, all of those kinds of things. And the guys would go and tell me something I didn't know. But so we came in, and when we do these, I always have my wife say, where should we eat? So the first thing she does is, if we don't know, we go to an app, TripAdvisor. It's the most visited app in the world for travelers. So we came in, and Cowboy's Kitchen was rated pretty well. It has nice curb appeal, but Los Jubotos was like #1. There it is. Cowboy Kitchen is #2. Outlaw Cafe is #3. I mean, this is what we do. And so, but not only do we go to TripAdvisor, we looked at reviews like this, where it says we were desperate for food, driving through. If we hadn't been, we would have walked out. The place is dingy and dirty. I think this was like Cowboy Kitchen. And a terrible establishment, and nobody even bothers to respond. The owner should say, because this doesn't cost anything, the owner should say, you know, I'm really sorry you felt that way. We are kind of a rustic kind of a place. And if you just apologize, but when there's no response, it's like, well, they don't care. Okay? What people do is they will go to TripAdvisor and they look at the worst reviews. They don't look at the best ones. And if nobody will even take the time to respond and say, I'm so sorry you had that, sometimes it's the service, it just paints a bad picture of you. And so that was really important. So we did, and by the way, now the flowers are gorgeous. I just drove by it, and it looks a lot better now. This is in May. And so even though we thought we would eat here, I had to talk my wife into going there. Now, once we went inside, and we had the big ball of fries, I thought my wife would say, oh, these are disgusting. She goes, this is cool. And so we love that point that you can go in there. It's the only place I've ever seen where you buy this big, huge ball of fries that are, I don't know how they do that, but those are little selling points that make you different. That you said, man, this place is known for that ball of fries. I think they have a name for it, don't they? Maybe it is a ball of fries, whatever. They should come up with a name for it.
You should eat the bread. The bread's one.
Yeah, the bread was, we did have the bread. It was really good. But those are the kinds of things people want to know. Over here, You know, I would always use the word lobby instead of office, just to bring you into the new century instead of stuck in the 1970s. Looks like a pretty nice place. But once again, there's not a whole lot of curb appeal. There's no plots, there's no planners. And I gotta, you know, I have to tell you, one thing that's really important is that 70% of first-time sales comes from curb appeal. Your little Mexican restaurant is the only place that really has any kind of good curb appeal. I mean, Cowboy Kitchen does on the corner, they've got the covered wagon, they got a couple, but the rest of it's pretty stark. And you know what? And here's another statistic. I hate to tell you this. The top 15%, the 85% of leisure visitors, they stay in the top 15% of hotels in terms of quality. So the top 15% of hotels, inns, B&Bs, in terms of quality, do 85% of the business. So you have kind of the same problem I had when we assessed Emery County. We assessed Emery County all the way from Green River all the way up to you. Where did we stay? Holiday Inn Express and Price. And so, because we didn't really have any other quality options that we saw. Since then, we found a few Airbnbs and some other ones. But what happens is we judge the book by the cover. These might be nice hotel rooms, but from the outside, they don't look like nice hotel rooms. Therefore, we're going to think that the inside is not very nice. So I really don't want to be critical because I haven't stayed in there. I haven't been in the rooms. But this is how people judge the book by the cover, fair or not. And so this is just kind of going through that. I mean, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, could you imagine an artisan in here, a glass blowing studio? I even thought, even if it was a little pop-up ice cream shop in the summer, I mean, I kept looking at, you know, what do you do with some of these empty buildings? How can you start inviting artisans out? I even thought, you know, that, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the post office. I don't know whether the post office owns it or whether they leased it.
He owns it back there.
Oh, okay. Who owns it? Oh, you do. And I kept going, these are really cool. I thought maybe this could even be like visitor information. So one thing that I didn't share, well, maybe it's after this, but I think 9 Mile Canyon is Carbon County's greatest asset. You should own it. You're here. I would encourage visitors, if for you marketing Wellington, I would say this is where you provision up for your 9 Mile cabin, your 9 Mile Canyon experience. So if you became the provisioning headquarters, whether it's down at the intersection or whether it's having Mexican lunch beef or, you know, I don't know who serves breakfast. I think it's kind of an all-day. Does anybody here serve breakfast? Outlaw Cafe or somebody? Outlaw Cafe. And I heard Outlaw Cafe's breakfasts are pretty legendary. You know,
The Cowboy Club does too.
Cowboy Club does too. And so if you said, we're the provisioning point for your 9 Mile experience, you know, this is where you provision up. And number one, you should have breakfast at, you know, name your 2 places. If you're leaving, if you're heading out there after lunch or when you come back, then you could add the Mexican. See what I mean? I think you need to monetize the 9 Mile, not just say we're the gate. By the way, don't ever be a gateway. A
Thank
gateway.
you. I don't want to be gateway.
Good, because the gateway is something you pass through to go somewhere else.
Okay.
So I want you to be the hub or the provisioning headquarters for the 9 Mile Canyon experience, which is phenomenal. I think it's one of the state's best assets.
What is your, so what would be their branding?
So I think you would be, it may not be, I don't know what the tagline.
What would you say, home to 9 Mile Canyon?
No, I would say we're the hub.
We're the hub.
We're the hub to the 9 Mile Canyon experience. This is where you provision up.
Okay.
Get your bottled waters. Make sure you have a tank full of gas. I mean, because it's, for the most part, is a dead-end road. I mean, there is a dirt road that I think it goes through somewhere else.
But
Yeah.
you're probably going to come back that way.
Of course. And this is where they can, when they provision up, just ask anybody in town about what there is to see and do out there. So, and I kept thinking, where could people stop? I think there's all kinds of little opportunities. I also, I mean, I was pretty critical about all the wood and everything. I just drove by this is why I was late. I drove back down by some of these. And it still doesn't look like a place I would stay in. It looks a little better than it did in May, but it was like, meh. And so I think a lot of your businesses really hurt themselves. You know, it's the, you know, seeing the lattice and empty hose reels and piles of wood. And as a visitor, you know, this is all the stuff, updated rooms, really? The sign looks like it's been there since 1970, so we can hardly believe they're updated. And I really don't mean, I mean this to be constructive. But if that's really telling us the rooms are updated, I'm going, yeah, right. I mean, that's just the way people think. You know, if I go to this and I see, you know, we got plastic bins there, we've got a blown out sign there, that one actually has writing on it now, you know, there you go. And so I just think if you want to be the hub, if you want to be the provisioning headquarters for, I don't know what words, we can tinker around with words to how you provision, so you don't have to use those words. What we're trying to do is, and by the way, that's really important, is number one, you need to be open more of the year. I think you kind of see yourselves, oh, we're Memorial Day, Labor Day. That ended in 1970. And now it's the weekend getaways. It's the, you know, and so I think that's a real challenge. You know, if I get out of this, the one thing that you could really, really benefit from, and all this that you see, you're seeing what I see, is when we came out here, we did stop at Miller's, but there you go. But she had like 3 people in line and everything, and so I was going, I want more visitor information than the kiosk. I want to talk to a human being. I didn't know where to talk to anybody, because she was a cash register in there, she was pretty busy at the time, and so I couldn't ask questions. And so I just, you know, there was a lot of people at the kiosk right there, but part of the problem is even at this kiosk, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go with a clipboard and start writing that down? I can't memorize everything on there. So why don't you just take and add like these little things? These are like $10 at a Staples or Office Max or wherever, whatever you got, and then put a little foldable map that talks about here's the restaurants and shops in Wellington, and then have that map, the stuff that is on this kiosk, something we could take with us. That would be easy and inexpensive, would promote your businesses, help you monetize it. That place, that little kiosk was busy all the time. And you know, more information on the other side kiosk, I think that's great. But then it says, Mile brochures available inside Walker's convenience store. When I went in there, they were out. And I don't even know what the brochure would have been. And so, put it right there. It's got a little cover on it. You could do it for, and by the way, even this needed like paint and stuff. And so these are the kinds of things. But I got to tell you that once we went out there, I thought it was great that it had these mile markers and everything, the Great Hunt panel, and I mean, I could go through this whole thing with you, but I said you really need to market the drive from mile 12 to 21 as 9 Mile Scenic Drive, because 9 Mile Canyon is kind of the very end. I think a lot of this getting out there is just as spectacular. Those farmlands and ranches and everything. You could call this the 9 Mile Creek Scenic Drive, and then when you get there, you're at 9 Mile Canyon. Does that make sense?
I think you need to promote make it worth the drive. Too.
Yeah. Because that, from mile 12 to 21, is absolutely stunning. I mean, this is part of it. Look at that. And that way, because otherwise people say, I have to drive 23 miles to get there. Is it worth it? If you say, well, the second you get to mile 12, it's spectacular. And it just builds from there. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I back up and market it from there. We even went to the trouble to figure out where do you really start to market it. And then, of course, I thought that was great. I think you need to have, you know, even if you put, you know, base camp. If you did, you know, even base camp hub, base camp to the 9 Mile Canyon experience would be a great sign for Wellington. You should own it. And so I thought you could do that. I mean, we did go out and saw 9 Mile Ranch, and I won't go through all of this. I will tell you that along the way, it had great reviews. the picnic area, and I'm just going to quickly kind of go through this. One thing we saw in the very beginning were these first sites. That is the only one that has a sign. And we found a guide that had like 80 of them or something. That's the only one that told us where it was. We couldn't even find the other ones. We could hardly find, and we would go through these little things. This is my wife. And I would even show photos that say, by the way, you don't have to just show photos of the petroglyphs. You need to show photos how it is to get to the petroglyphs. So these are things that you could, and by the way, when you take pictures of people in photos, it adds scale to it. Always have pictures of people in it. And this is something Tina knows and everything. People relate to people more than just objects or rock art or, petroglyphs. And by like Argyle Canyon, I have no idea if anything's up there worth driving to. See what I mean? I didn't have anybody to really talk to here in Wellington. I could have done it in Price. But, I just thought, interesting facts like that rock, I wonder how much that rock weighs and how long that's been there. There's just cool little things along the way that I think would be awesome things you could promote. We didn't know, mark the other sites. Out of the 8, like here's one here, and I think it's back right up there. But is this private property? We see bullet holes in a lot of the wood. Are we going to be shot if we tread on this person's private property to go up there and look at these? Or are they just meant to look? We have no information. Right. We didn't have anybody locally to talk to.
And Roger, since you came for your assessment, I've been talking with the mayor. We've been working with the public lands. And we have been on 2 field trips with the BLM, who own the kiosk.
Oh, good.
And they have a new maintenance person on board. And now also they've had this plan written for a while now for interpretive signage and panels. And we've kind of have lit a fire under them. And that's one of their recreational person at the BLM. This is his #1 thing that is getting done, and the money's there. I was just told yesterday, I got a phone call from someone, and they're bringing the guy back in who did the original plan for the interpretive panels, and they're going to actually start getting that signage up.
Because we saw 5 granaries, we thought that was it. They never said, wrong. We never found any of them. So that would be really great. This is one of the state's best sites. And I think we were just desperate for help. We kept we tried to find it. I think we found like 4 out of 80. And so these are the kinds of things you could do. And of course, And
we fixed that too.
Did you fix that? Like, did somebody go out there the next day?
Me and Todd, who's the public.
Did you hear what happened? Okay, here's what happened. We're looking for the Great Hunt panel, right? It's right here. It's got to be on this, see the sign? It's got to be right here somewhere, right here on this rock face.
That was before the road.
Right?
Yeah.
We and a bunch of other visitors are out there tromping around trying to find the trail to it. And then I'm out there with my big camera, and one of them says, well, it's got to be here somewhere. And I said, I'm not sure. And then we could see signs like this. The Great Hunt panel is this way, but Cottonwood Canyon is that way. Well, so is the Great Hunt panel. Why is this arrow pointing that way when it's that way? And so these are the kinds of things. So what happened is, that's there, but that's that way. And then, or you could go that way. And so Jane and I, we actually went and found it. And I think and by the way, even showing pictures like this, tell people that it's wheelchair, stroller accessible, it's a short walk. So when you photograph things like this, you don't need to take a close-up of this. You want people to go there for the close-up. What you want is the person down here looking at it, puts it in scale, and you can see how magnificent it is without just a picture of it. And so the challenge is when we got done, and even doing that encourages people to do what she's doing, taking pictures of it, and then posting them, and putting 9 Mile Canyon. I mean, and by the way, even this, saying Scarsway Discovery would represent an actual hunting event. It says it's one of the most recognized and famous art sites in Utah. It's in Carver County. I mean, I've been at Newspaper Rock and Parowan, Gap, and all the other ones, and they're right. And so anyway, when we were done, we started driving back, even things like that. We had to have a visitor tell us where this big buffalo was. And then visitors, there's these two guys from Japan that were desperately trying to find the great hunt panel. So these ladies are from like New Jersey, I can't remember, Philadelphia or somewhere. And they're the ones that told us where the big buffalo was. They were already heading back because they gave up trying to find the great hunt panel. They drove all those miles, and we're going to say, no, don't leave yet. Go up further. That sign is wrong. Go up further, and you'll find it. And they did. And then, but we found there's a couple of Japanese guys there, and they had given up. We're not sure whether this could really go through, but you have to somehow go through here to get to the big buffalo or whatever. So anyway, these are all things that are easy to fix. Tina already told you they're already working on it. It's just amazing. But for you, you can fix it all for like that. Yeah.
So I'm at the 9 Mile Ranch, and we have maps from the Carbon County down at our place, and we also have the mile markers, and we get people come in and ask for information about the canyon and go down.
Where are you at?
We are 9 Mile Ranch.
Oh, you're at 9 Mile Ranch.
Yeah, and we also do tour guides, and
Yes.
so we take people and show them all that. Too.
Yeah, and I just kind of skipped over your place,
Yeah.
but we went there and said, wow, we would stay here. I mean, we drove in, you saw, we took pictures of the signs with the cost and everything, and you do that. But for the people that are already staying in Price and everything, and now, and I didn't see anything in your gateway say, hey, if you want, we figured you're about lodging. So as a visitor, we probably wouldn't go and say, do you have maps, do you have information, 9 Mile Canyon? Sorry, we're not spending any money here. See what I mean? You probably would. You say, oh, sure, we'll help you. But the challenge is, if we're not staying there, we're not going to go and bug them.
Right.
And so that's the general public, you know.
Yeah, so maybe on our sign or something, we could put the signs outside if some people don't want to come up to the house. We have them outside our house at the table, but we can put them where our prices are and stuff, and put the Carbon County map and stuff on there and the mile markers so people can find that. And then we also do tour guides, so.
Yeah.
And that,
even if you, well, like your sign, even if you had, let's see, so we drove down and I thought this was really good that you just, everything's really clear, it's right there. Mm-hmm. So if you have any questions, by the way, just for everybody, I'm glad you include the area code, but you know what these days? Most people won't call. They'll get on their phone and look for a URL, a website. So you might put your website address, you leave the phone numbers there and put the website address there. You know what's interesting now about like the millennial generation? They'll call anybody. You know what they do? They'll text you, is it okay if I call you now? Right? I mean, and so just make sure, if you add that, I don't know what cell, I can't remember what cell services like are out there, but a lot of times they'll go on the web before they'll do that. I love the fact you did guided tours, but if you had brochures that we could take with us, because most people are going to take a picture of the sign and then go home and print it out so they can call you. Yeah. But even that same little brochure holder would be really great. I love it. Bunk and breakfast. I thought it was really cool, by the way. I love that term. Campground, Dutch oven dinners. I don't know what was down here. It's hard to see anymore. But overall, and we saw these as we were coming back because they're kind of hard to see when you're going out. And we just thought, wow, this would be a really cool place to stay. We were really impressed. And then of course we did look at your TripAdvisor reviews and
Your 5.0?
82%, yeah, 5 point, I mean, it was like, awesome job. So really, really good job. So, but for all those day trippers out there, they're starting here and, you know, and
they're not getting enough information.
They're not getting enough information. There's nobody, and I understand people are busy, you know, over down at the, what is that? What is the shop down there? At Miller's. You know, they're busy, they're selling their customers, people are buying gas and everything. And I didn't see any other place. There's no sign here in front of City Hall that says visitor information. And by the way, City Hall, Town Hall's not open on Saturdays, Sundays.
Right.
after 5, you know what I mean? So just having a visitor information kiosk, I love that little post office building.
People don't realize that the whole 9 Mile Canyon, they think that there's other stores and restaurants, and so they come out and there's no food in restaurants.
Well, that's why I say if you were the provisioning headquarters, this is where you provision up for your 9 Mile Canyon, because you know what? We could have easily spent more than one day out there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Easily. Which means, gee, maybe we should stay right here if these hotels and motels look like the kind of quality the people would stay in. See what I mean? And most of them look kind of like we're stuck in the 60s. And by the way, I've seen mom and pop motels that were incredible inside. And some of these maybe and say, and you could just say, feel free for a no obligation look at our rooms. See what I mean?
I actually went on a tour of the National Mine last month because I had never seen the inside, and it is a very nice hotel. They have a nice swimming pool, but
how would you know it?
Could you share some ideas with the city, members of the council and the mayors here about, we know in each city we've talked about money as being an issue. I think more in Wellington, they want to know how to brand and where to start. With
I'd be the home of 9 Mile Canyon. There's your brand, home of 9 Mile Canyon.
Simple.
It's that simple. And then people can go 9 Mile Canyon.
Did you work on banners? I mean, because we're working on banners right now.
You know what? I've been all over this state. I mean, Rachel, I got a question for you. Have you been out to 9 Mile Canyon?
Yeah.
What do you think? In the States, this state, you know what? The bar is so high in Utah. It's unbelievable.
I think we need to do a better job at marketing it.
But do you believe it's worthy of?
It's worthy just as much as our national parks are. I mean, it's a
without the crowds.
Big enough assets that we can market it to the right visitors without overcrowding it, and bring in new visitors that go to outfitters and everything else. But I do think I was just looking at the ranch too, because we're looking at some new itineraries that I wanted to work on. So I was researching that as we're talking, but and don't devalue it. It's an amazing asset.
I think being home of 9 Mile Canyon would be fantastic.
You're used to it, but the rest of the world, including
how do you get everybody else on board? So your business owners,
I didn't really like the last one. What if you added just a tagline, not as but adventure without the crowd?
Well, except for, I could do that in Helper. I could do that in Blanding. I could do that in about.
Well, no, still keep the home of 9 Mile.
Yeah, but there's a lot of places. By the way, even the state's home of the Mighty Five has been the most successful branding, positioning, tourism campaign in U.S. history. But now they're not doing that. They're doing the Road to Mighty. So on your way, we're known for these national parks, but we want to spread people out into 9 Mile Canyon, Highway 12 Scenic Byway, those kinds of things. Sometimes I have a list of words and phrases to avoid. And the words, and I can send you a post, I can send them to you, can hand them out. It's discover, explore, adventure, four-season destination. And I use these words to avoid, and here's why I say you need to avoid them. It's because that could fit any town in Utah. See what I mean? So I always say the best way is direct. So I do like it. I think that would be a good subtitle.
That's what I mean, a subtitle.
Oh yeah, that'd be fine. I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, keep home of 9 Mile because then you you let people know you can.
Yeah, Adventure Without the Crowds. I think it's fantastic. You know what? You can even. You know how much fun you can have with that. You even use photos like this and say rush hour 9 Mile Canyon.
That is cute.
I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, they're absolutely playing up that. But I think Wellington, home of 9 Mile Canyon. And then if you have places that offer free visitor information without a sales pitch, I think you do that. Just say visitor information here, here, here. As visitors say, oh, are we going to get hit with timeshare sales and all that? I don't know that you're going to have that problem in Wellington, but I think you need to make it easy for people. And if you tell people, we own 9 Mile Canyon, I've already heard from people that you got to get the mayor on camera because there's nobody that can sell this better than she can.
Right.
And so I think those things are important. But if you just say, you know, for the best 9 Mile experience, ask anybody in town. You know, if you believe that they will truly be ambassadors. When we ate at, is it Cowboy Heaven?
Cowboy Kitchen.
Cowboy Kitchen. We asked the girl that was waiting on us that we said, I think we did that before we're going out there. We asked her, say, so if, when we go out to 9 Mile Canyon, any words of advice? She goes, you know, I haven't been out there. Like, you know, so, I mean, so yeah, if you're going to say something, then you have to have everybody deliver on it. But and then if you do, before you head out 9 Mile Canyon, provision up here. Take drinking water, you know, take a snack with you, you know, and in your overall marking, you can do it in a half day, but that's what we tried to do, and we were really rushing, we couldn't see half stuff. But you say this is really worth a 2-day visit. Overnight visitors spend 4 times more than day visitors. Because they're going to eat breakfast, they're going to eat dinner, they're going to go out the next day, eat breakfast first, and then eat dinner when they come back. You got 2 days worth of meals and everything. And so I think that's always really great to do. Yes?
We have been working on this for many years.
Okay.
Trying to come up with the something. And I know 9 Mile's precious. I understand that. I suggested a few years ago that we do a rock walk. And we have our rock along the base where people can walk. And we went and field tripped it. Shlee was still here there and whatnot. And looked it over to see how we could make this happen. We've also working on the Badlands Trail system. You ask about what's on the other end of Argyle. It's the road that goes to Mighton. People won't know that because it's not posted. Right. But we're going to promote for OHV traffic, which is what we're going to send out to 9 Mile Ranch to stay the night.
Yes. And what I would do, so one thing that's, no, we're talking about branding. What sets you apart? And I think 9 Mile Canyon is absolutely something you can own and take. Now, I got to tell you that I have not worked in any counties in Utah that didn't say you're the capital of ATV or UTVs or whatever, but OHV. So, but however, that doesn't mean you market it. But I would be the home of 9 Mile Canyon. You could choose your experience. You want to do it on horseback?
Choose your experience. There you go.
So you do choose your experience. So once you do that, you say choose your experience. You want to do it on horseback? You want to do a hike? Do you want to do mountain biking, or do you want to be in an OHV? And so then if somebody says, well, gee whiz, can I? And here's another thing that I really started with in Carbon County. There's not a single place in this county where I can rent an OHV. And I don't know whether you take people out on OHV or whether it's horseback or how you do it.
They have horseback.
We have Lane James
Right, from a
that come
company in
out and
Mighton.
do our horseback race and wagon races.
Yeah. And so I think those are, but then you say, choose your experience. Here's how you can best experience 9 Mile Canyon. And then you know what else you can do? If you like that, look what else we have to offer. And now you take them out into, what'd you say was beyond at the end of the road?
Over to Vinegar Campground.
Right. Or even up some of these side roads, I said, I don't know what's up to those. But you know what then you're doing? You're giving reason to people to come back again to explore even more. So what I would always do, home of 9 Mile Canyon, without the crowds, whatever you want to do, this is where you provision up. This is where you get your visitor information. And then just say now, choose your experience. Do you want to do it in private car? Do you want to do it in a motorcycle? I mean, you saw that slide where I put up there? Do you want to do a horseback tour? Do you want to do an OHV tour? Do you want to, and you choose your experience. And then you say, okay, here's where you'll find it right here in Wellington, if not Carbon County. It starts right here. Then you're monetizing it in every kind of form. And then what you can do and say, and if you like the 9 Mile Canyon, look what else we have to offer. Here's our next top 3 trails. I always say to everybody, always promote your very best ofs. And if they like that, they're going to be back and say, what else you got? Yeah. And they'll come back again and again and again.
Well, I think in your assessment you had mentioned that when you went to 9 Mile, even the brochure that our office offers tells you a lot about the history, but not about what you can do there. So I like the points that you shared choose your experience. Do you want to do it on horseback, ATV, motorcycle? I think that's
In this, like it says, example of discrimination.
I don't have that anymore, just so you know.
I know, but and I'm not here to pick on anything. And Tina inherited a lot of this stuff. But like here's Argyle Canyon to Indian Canyon, but I don't know, is there anything out there worth exploring? It just says that's where it goes. So there's lots of these things. Number 6, and by the way, there are some of these things that are like 1986, 1990. Don't encourage people to go graffiti it. So I wouldn't put anything after like 1900. Otherwise, say, oh, if we graffiti this, maybe we'll be in the next brochure. So those are things I said when I did the assessment. But I didn't want to spend too much time on just 9 Mile Canyon. But I do think it is something that's worthy of visiting pretty much any time of year. It's easily worth an overnight stay, and not many places can boast that. But I think your businesses need to do a little better to pull people in the door. The curb appeal in this town is not very good. And so we're reluctant to actually spend any money here. I mean, if Miller's is the best looking place, what's that say about the rest of the town? I do believe a little Mexican restaurant, is it Gilberto's? Gilberto is great. It looked great. It is what it is. It looks really cute. Every time I come here, I go, I want to go eat there. Is it good?
Yeah.
You know, and is it authentic? Are they Hispanic, Mexican? Yeah, that's the stuff we want.
I wish she was here today. I invited her personally.
Yeah, but other than that, you know, I think if you can start better monetizing 9 Mile Canyon, being the provisioning headquarters, pick your experience, encouraging people to do OHV. I will tell you that if you go down to Escalante or Escalon, if you go down to Escalante, there's people that rented a gas station, like the one I said could be a glass blowing. They rented that. They rent a gas station during the day, they roll up the deals, and they say, when you come here, you have your choice. We have 1-person ATVs, we have 2 people side-by-side OHVs, then we have the luxury, you know, the 4-passenger ones, and they say, here they are, you can just rent one and take off from right here, or you can rent one and we'll deliver it all the way down to Jacob Hamlin Arch, you know, and you drive down there, we'll meet you there, and then you take it there, and when you're done, you come back and we'll go get it. So you don't have to tow it out, you don't have to have a car with a hitch and all that. Or you can have one of our guides go with you and you just sit passenger and now, or you could have one of our guides go with you and you follow them so you have the experience of riding. They give people every single option and they're booked up like 4 months in advance. And by the way, they sell the pop, the provisioning, the beef jerky, and everything else right there in this old gas station. So these are ways you could better monetize it, and all of a sudden you're going to have incentive for people to start taking your empty buildings and putting businesses back into them.
Speaking on that, we actually moved from Indiana.
Where in Indiana?
Franklin.
Oh yeah, I know Franklin. I was just in Franklin.
I didn't say. I'm wondering if you are part of that magic there.
Yep.
Awesome. One of our favorite places to visit is Nashville, Indiana.
Yeah, of course, Brown County.
Brown County is, yeah. We moved here. We've lived in Kaysville and Hennifer, and then we moved here.
Yeah.
And this is our fit. You know, we love it here, and we want to invest our time and money. Not that we have an abundance, but I don't want to make it sound like more than what it is, but
yeah.
And we're wanting to open a little country store, and some of these things that
people love country stores.
Yes, and it adds to it, doesn't take away. One of the things we want to make sure that we're doing is not competing and taking away from the businesses that are already established. We want to add to them and be a part of that growth. And I have all of these other things that you're talking about doing. So I can't believe how many things that we have already in our notes that you guys have been talking about. I'm like, we've been over there going, look at this. We have all these great ideas that we, can't facilitate ourselves. Anyway, what do you recommend for someone that is trying to, move in, kind of, and start a business to add to it without taking away? I mean, because there's things that we want to do. We want to have the rock corner, and we want to have gym shows, and we want to have hiking gear. I just added on the list when you were talking about 9 Mile. And
how do you do that without infringing on the businesses that
are
are
already here?
Well,
What's already here?
Yeah, what's already here besides what the selling Miller?
We're both the ones.
Neither of us are from here, so.
Yeah. There's single stop gas stations there, and they're still growing, and they're still trying, you know.
And they're always going to be there. I mean, single stop. I
We
can
did not-
imagine that they would go.
Yeah, I don't think you're
To
gonna.
have a place where you could buy repelling or,
Yes.
you know, like an outfitter, a small outfitter with country store. I mean,
What-
that is
And all the
neat.
information.
Have you?
Prairie Dog to 9 Mile Country Store.
Have you been to, where was I just talking about?
Landing?
No, where, I was just talking about the town. I said
Escalante?
Escalante. I don't know why it skipped me. I've only been talking for the last 8 hours.
I know.
So Escalante, you should make a trip down there. When you go to Escalante, when you come into town, on the left side, there's an outfitter.
Okay.
But this outfitter, they are also the liquor store for the community, and they don't put it front and center. It's just in the back, kind of in the back room, and that's where they make most of their money. And so they don't, it's not up front, they don't sell booze there, you can drink there. If somebody wants to go in and buy liquor, local, that's what they have there. It's a way to make money. So they're the official little liquor store. It's a corner about this size.
To find our thing.
Okay, but then what they also have is they also have the outfitting, which has the shoes, the socks, the thing, you know, little inexpensive binoculars, which I think would be handy here. Things that people could use, little guidebooks, things like that. And then they have over in the next room, they created this little coffee shop pizzeria. So it has kind of a miniature kitchen, so it's not the full-on kitchen. And so they're part coffee shop, part pizza place. It's where everybody goes to hang out. They're part outfitter. They have that. And so they have enough stuff that it doesn't matter whether it's during the week, so it's not 100% for visitors. Locals will go there for certain things. And it's just really cool. It's very organic. It's not flashy at all. But if you go down there, you'll see it's swamped. It's the #1 place that people just go there and they hang out there. And then all their workers say, well, you want to know? Let me tell you how to get there, or how you get there. And they're like the visitor information center, but monetized. Yeah. So if you did that, so I do think it's going to be important for you to have a variety of things. Yeah. So if the county, if Tina said, okay, we want to promote Wellington as the provisioning headquarters, and say, you know what, you can go to the place down the street, you could go to the country store and give 2 or 3 places here in Wellington where you could go provision up. You know, because I think it's really important for the county's tourism, for any place to promote private business. A lot of times what I hear is we cannot spend public money to promote private business. Well, you know what? That's economic development. Can you imagine if Orlando said, we have 170 attractions, but we can't mention any because they're all privately owned? Come to Napa Valley, we have 224 wineries, but we can't mention them by name. You need to promote business. So if you just said, you know what, when you go provision up Wellington, here's 3 shops that are great for provisioning up. And by the way, before you head out, have breakfast, lunch, or on your way back, have dinner, and here are these restaurants. I mean, those are the kinds of things the county can do, and so that's what you need to do. So yeah, keep asking.
Do you have a building yet?
No.
That's what
So I was just, the gentleman who owns the post office,
we're gonna talk
is
to
that
him.
awesome? I just thought what a great connection, the country store and a 9 Mile visitor all into one.
And I would imagine that most of the people, and I don't know this for a fact, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that are going to come to 9 Mile Canyon are probably going to come through Price. They're going to come out 6 all the way from Provo or what is it? Yeah, so they're going to come that way. They're going to come and they will go by that post office before we head all the way down to the intersection, down to Miller's. And so that gives you a nice bookend that fits into town. So that would be a good location. Even the little old gas station across the street that had the overhang, I don't know what shape the building is in.
We told about that, and they say that they're in the process of selling it.
No, somebody's going to be putting in a small car dealership there.
Really? We'll see how that does.
So somebody else was taking up.
Maybe they'll rent ATVs.
Who knows? That'd be perfect for that. That'd be ideal.
Commissioner Holt's had a comment.
Yes.
2 quick things. One's a question, and one was something that you brought up during the assessment. I really like the idea if somebody in Wellington were to have that. You talked about like 50-cent ice creams at a gas station in Wyoming.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you about that.
And if you talk a little bit about that, because I was totally blown away how just that 50 cent, and most of what they bought was not the ice cream.
No.
So it was about getting them in the store. The question is, so a store like this, where we want Wellington to become the base camp, would it be worth their investment to have some shirts, some hats?
Oh yeah, 9 Mile Canyon base camp.
Base camp.
And I wouldn't make it.
Of 9 Mile.
I mean, logo gear for 9 Mile Canyon would be awesome.
Okay.
They'd be good. So let me talk about the ice cream. Is if you go on Interstate 80 past Park City and you head into Wyoming, right? As you're going east on Interstate 80, you will see signs for Little America. And it says 50-cent ice cream cones. The next billboard says spotless restrooms. And that's what they promote. And just so you know, there's nothing at Little America there except a hotel, a gas station, a restaurant, and a gift shop. There's no town. But those billboards, and so I went there, and at the time the ice cream cones were 35 cents. And I said, you know what? You sell these ice cream cones. It goes, the ice cream cones and the spotless restrooms are just to get people to stop. But we found that those spotless restrooms and 50-cent ice cream cones account for $12 million a year in non-ice cream sales.
We've stopped there many times.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I even think, you know, do you have a high school in Wellington?
No.
But we've even seen high schools where they'll go take a little place like your building and say, hey, can we do a pop-up restaurant, a little thing in there? And all they do is they bring in a little ice cream thing during the summer, and these high school kids learn how to run a business, and it's only open for these 90 days, and maybe it's only open on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays or something, and you'd be surprised how many people will stop. But if you do it in your store, you put old-fashioned soda fountain in there, oh my gosh, people love that stuff. You know what's coming back to town? And I said this in Helper. You know what's coming back to town? The butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Really? Well, there you go.
Is it worthwhile having I don't know how to phrase it, a mascot out? Not like a high school mascot. I was on the way to Nashville, Indiana. We stopped at a little country store, and they were selling T-shirts with a Fighting Possum logo. There's no school with a mascot.
Prairie dog with the miner's hat on.
That stuff, I'm not a big fan. You know what I told them in Vernal? You know, Vernal's dinosaurs, if you've ever been up there. They got one of the greatest quarries in the world, the Wall of Bones. You know, I told them, get rid of Barney. I'm sorry. You need to be Jurassic Park. People these days, even 5-year-olds, they don't want Barney. They want, yeah, in my, you know. And so I think the days of the mascots and the cutesy things are just kind of, even with young people. So no offense, but I think you could do cool things on logo gear that are fun. But I just think being home in 9 Mile Canyon, you know, I think it's pretty cool.
And the vinyl stickers on the back of the window to go with the whole.
Yeah, I think you could actually brand 9 Mile Canyon pretty cool, having a logo gear. Like, you know, if anybody's ever been to Maui, they've got the road to Hana. It's like go over 52 bridges, you average about 5 miles, and people buy shirts say, I survived the road to Hana. Or, you know, the highway to hell, you know. I mean, they have all different kinds. So you could do some fun, funky things that I think would be cool. I think 9 Mile Canyon is something that you could really do like logo gear, you know. I survived 9 Mile. I wouldn't do I survived because it's not that extreme. Right. But you could have some fun with 9 Mile Canyon. That'd be fun. People like to buy logo gear.
And talk about the 9 Mile at our ranch. We have a lot of T-shirts like that. Like I dug a trench at 9 Mile, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
And so I've seen them, yeah. So we have some that we made up too in our place about the community.
Well, and the city has, I mean, the 9 Mile that's on the front of the building here, all the cop cars have that already.
Oh, do they? So. Do they? Okay. Sure. Now, I didn't notice it when I drove by this.
So they have the metal one on the front of this building.
Okay.
All the cop cars have like a portion of.
It says 9 Mile Canyon. Yeah.
Well, the petroglyph on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would, you know, and by the way, the petroglyph at the end, I would make it 9 Mile Canyon. and then just say there's a really great reward at the end. And then that is the, what is it?
Great Hunt Panel.
Yeah, the Great Hunt Panel, which is awesome. I mean, that all by itself is worth the drive down there, and it's well done and easy to get to and everything, other than the signage. So did somebody go out there like the next day? I said go out there and just put a paper arrow over it and turn the arrow so it goes, just temper it.
Like seriously, we didn't even have, when we got out there and it was just me and the public lands director, we stopped at CJ's, bought a paint can of brown spray paint. We got an arrow for that we use for trails. And we didn't have a ladder. We put visitor guide boxes that weigh 33 pounds apiece, and we stacked them because we didn't realize that we wasn't going to be able to reach it because of the road, how it drops off. So I got pictures of him doing that, and he climbed the boxes and spray painted it and fixed the arrow.
You can say updated signs and show that picture.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether I'd be arrested for, proposing vandalism. Go out there.
We did call the BLM. We did call the BLM and told them that we would do it, and they said go ahead.
Oh, good. See, so that's good. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
So another thing that we were into a lot in Indiana was geocaching, and there's a lot of these sites that should be geocached. And the state of Utah has geocaching throughout for each county. But
go to geocache.com.
Is that your office?
It's actually set up. We have a link. You can earn your patches and
yes.
And our office.
That we need to know more of that in the homeschool.
Yeah. Utah Office of Tourism promotes that. So geocaching is pretty fun. Is everybody familiar with geocaching?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, what is it?
Okay, geocaching is where you might have a little box and we go hide it under a rock or around a bush. And then what people do is they can go to geocache.com and they'll give you coordinates. And then you use on your smartphone or anything, GPS, you go around and you try to find the geocache. And then you might say, oh, here it is, it's under, and then you open up the box and there might be little trinkets, you could take one, but the idea is to put one back in there. So it's just kind of a treasure hunt. It's just a fun thing, particularly for families with kids. And so
more Spanish.
Yeah, I mean, even out at your ranch, you say, hey, while you're here, we have 6 geocache sites. Go see if your kids can go find them. Here's the thing, is if you can get people to spend 2 hours here, spending doubles. So the longer you get them to spend, the longer time you give them to spend, the more money they're going to spend. So 2 hours equals double spending. Because now we're close to a meal, or we're going to need more water or ice cream or something else. And so doing little things like geocaching, I would not hang your brand on it, but it's just another activity. While you're here, you ought to check out some of our geocaching sites.
And 9 Mile actually is one of the sites for the Carbon County geocaching.
Okay, yeah.
The only thing about the 9 Mile Canyon doesn't have electricity out there, and so we can't.
Well, and it depends on cell service. I mean, a lot of GPSs are satellites, so. But now, do you have electricity at your place?
We're on solar panel.
Oh, really? See, those are cool things that people need to know. Just so you know, Jay over at the Utah Office of Tourism is, what do you think, right? He's one of the best storytellers ever.
Yeah.
He's incredible. You know what? Utah Office of Tourism is looking at things like that. You know what? We're out here, we're off the grid. And that's what makes it really cool. I think that's a selling point.
Yeah.
And if you say, and by the way, we don't even have cell service, this is a way to really become connected with the environment and disconnected from all of this.
Right.
And so that's a selling point. So there's some cool little things like that I think are cool things, and they're good stories.
Yeah.
And he's always looking for stories.
That's the thing, it's good.
Yeah.
People like to be no service and no anything. But then when they come to whole 50 Mile Canyon, they don't we don't have a store, we don't have a restaurant because we don't have a big fridge, we don't have electricity, we can't hold
But that's just another reason why people should provision up in Wellington, and here's the shops you can do that. And here's the things that you bring out with you. I mean, the state is really pushing hard to get people to come to places like 9 Mile Canyon, and it's your job to provision up and make sure that people, and you got to make it, your businesses need to do a lot to say, ooh, let's stop there. That looks like a nice place to eat. That looks like a nice place to stop. Because there's always a bunch of cars in front of Miller's because it's pretty new. It looks pretty new anyway.
How would the city
But-
encourage the business owners to, you know, I mean, you come and you're not afraid to say what you want to say, but being in their
They
position,
can't, yeah.
I mean, how would you go about doing something?
So-
Would you do it through ordinances? Would you do it
No, you know, you're part of the Destination Development Association. I know we got you, with the Destination Development Association, if you had like a 10 login or something, you could give one to the mayor and say, Mayor, could you share this login with some of your businesses, and then have them go on, because we have video. We created a thing called the Destination Development Association. It's a labor of love. We lose a fortune on it. But there's all kinds of videos about beautifications, about blade signs, things that businesses can do. And they're all streams. I call it Netflix for communities, because they can just stream it on their own time, if you have power. You know, or generator, or whatever. But they could go in there, and so you could say, you know what, Roger has this video in the library that's all about the power of beautification. You might want to watch that. It just gives you some tips and tricks. There are low-hanging fruit things you could do. There's lots of photos of examples, and maybe that's a good way, because a lot of times we're at work during the day. We're not going to come here at 2:30 in the afternoon. We have businesses running. Some of you are doing it anyway. But that way they can watch it on their own time. They can fast forward the videos, they can rewind it, they can take a screenshot if they see a picture of what a hotel did to beautify its storefronts. I mean, I offered some in here, like just put hanging baskets,
Clean it up.
We'll clean it up. What's with all the weeds and stuff? I mean, I don't, I was in Mountain Home, Idaho. I was doing a webinar at Mountain Home the other night, and somebody said, well, people expect it to look like this. I said, well, yeah, people expect it to look like it. It doesn't mean they're going to want to live there or shop there or even stop there. They expect it to look like it, but that doesn't mean it's translating into sales.
So I'm not from here. My husband grew up here, but when our family moved down here, and we said,
Now, where are you from?
just northern Utah.
Okay,
But
like Logan, that north, or?
Ogden.
Okay, Ogden, okay.
But when we moved down here, and I would tell people, oh, where are you living? And I would say, oh, we just bought a house in Wellington. So many times people were like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, what? Because I love this place. I think it's fantastic. But I think that people have...
So I want to talk about...
sometimes the people that live here that we've met have said, oh, why did you live here, But I think people sometimes have the mindset of Wellington is just, it's not a place worth stopping, and all this stuff I think is fantastic. That's partly why we love it here. And we can kind of see from an outsider's perspective, like what.
So let me talk about branding. Branding has nothing to do with marketing.
Right.
They're 100% different. A brand is a perception people have of you. Mm-hmm. A perfect example is Ogden.
Right.
If you talk to anybody in Ogden and say, what do you think about Ogden? You know what they say? I freaking love it here. Go to anybody in the Salt Lake Valley and say, I'm from Ogden. They go, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That is a brand. The perception of Price, the perception of Wellington is kind of that way. To change the brand, what you have to do is put things in empty buildings, make them look better.
Right.
I mean, look at what they're doing in downtown Helper.
Right.
Talk about 180 degree. And so sometimes it is when we see a lot of empty buildings, boarded up buildings, and zero curb appeal, what do you expect them to think? But that's why I think if you do 9 Mile Canyon, you start to get people to stop, spend a little bit of money, then all of a sudden you're going to see it start to come back. But the story you need to say is, somebody says, you're living in Wellington? Boy, I'm sorry. You say, well, you know what? We are the hub for the 9 Mile, or the base camp for the 9 Mile Canyon experience. And if you haven't witnessed the 9 Mile Canyon experience, it's one of the best places in Utah. And Utah has a high bar. I mean, that's how you do it. And we're right there. I mean, those are the ways you do it. And so why do we live here? You know what? Yeah, our town needs us a little bit of help and everything. But you know what? We're the kind of place, and these are things you can say. And this is where social media comes in. You say, you know what? I tell the kids, be home by dinner. Find any place in the United States where you say that. That's the Leave It to Beaver days. And they go, what? Where we live, the kids say, don't be out of my eyesight. You know, and so I think there's some things like that that you need to promote, you know. But people judge a book by the cover, and you don't have a great cover.
Well, the suggestion I was going to make is they were talking about how do you get the local business owners involved, and we've been doing some research, and there are tons. I mean, they're kind of hard to find. You got to dig for them, but there are grants for small businesses. There are grants for rural areas. There are grants for education, and all these things. And maybe something that we could do is have somebody who knows how to find these grants.
So, not to cut you off, Tina, this is a really good point, and Casey, to bring everyone into that understanding that there's a committee that the county has started, and so they have these committees. Their sole goal is exactly what we're talking about doing via this springboard with Roger, so for example the Quality of Life Committee. They're bringing the ALG, they're bringing in SBDC, they're bringing in all these offices and all the government functions to come sit down with these committees and say, business sector, private sector, meet public sector, and do the handshake.
And give them the resources.
And we're giving the resources right now, so that's actually in place. So I'll time the question.
One thing that you have going for you right now is last year I keynoted with the governor and lieutenant governor down in Cedar City. And I was sitting down with the governor. He said, you know, Roger, my #1 priority in the state of Utah, you've probably heard the 25,000 jobs in rural Utah by 2025. And so both the governor and lieutenant governor are both from rural Utah. This is their high priority. They've mandated into every state department. And so right now is a really good time. And the county will help you do that. We'll help you find those resources. We also have some on this Destination Development website. We've got lots of grant resources and stuff, but there's lots of things you do. There's 0 interest loans for small businesses. One thing that's tough is having governments put money in private business because they think, well, that's being favorable to private business. So they create low interest loans, or sometimes, well, if you put in this money, we'll put in this money, so there's a matching grant. But I think as a state, you're in a good state for that, and I know for a fact the governor, it's his. He by God, he's going to get that done. And that's a lot of the reason why, you know, much of what I'm talking about has nothing to do with tourism. You know, but Utah Office of Tourism paid 50% of this bill because they know that if you don't hang out in Wellington, neither are visitors. And so that's the challenge. But I think you'll see the county is really helping you on that regard. So, what other questions you have? You haven't even asked me any hard questions. These are easy.
Got hard ones, Mayor?
Whoa. You tell me what people ask you that's hard.
Well, it's a little. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Is what's your population in Wellington roughly?
1,600 something.
1,600. What was it 10 years ago?
16.
Okay. I mean, but you're holding steady. You're not increasing. You're not decreasing.
We're decreasing.
Is that you're decreasing?
Slowly.
Okay. So the very first thing I tell every single city is you need to be known for something. And 9 Mile Canyon is something you already have. It doesn't cost you a dime to leverage it. Then the next thing you need to do and say, okay, we are going to be a tourism town. I mean, that's going to be probably your primary economy right now. I mean, I'm sure you have some agriculture. I don't know what all's around here. But then you say, okay, how do we best leverage it? And that is working with your businesses. You need to, remember what I said, the top 15% accommodations do 85% of the business. But you know, Miller's looks like a really high quality place. It's the only place in town that looks like a high quality place. And I'm not saying all the other ones, there's nothing wrong with rustic and everything. And if, like you said, the rooms inside, I put, you know, but their signs still, I mean, they do the, what is it, National 9 signs. They have good billboards and stuff. But then when you drive up, it's like, wow, it's almost a letdown. Because they don't, little things like office sign, the backlit neon signs that went out in the 1970s are still there. You know, it just doesn't pull us in. It doesn't close the sale. But if they put up a sign that says, we have a guest room open house, take a look, no obligation. So people take a look and go, whoa, this is nice.
They have poolside rooms. So you can
but
be right
nobody
away.
knows. Yeah. Nobody knows. And there's no invitation to come check it out. No obligation. This room is open. Check it out. All the rooms look like this. I mean, those kinds of things. But then there's no hanging baskets. There's no planters. There's no benches. There's no nothing. It's just asphalt. And that's plagues you, and it plagues a lot of rural Utah. You know, I'll tell you an interesting story. I was working in Kanab, going down 89, and we had in Orderville, we had probably 200 people in the room. It was packed. And I'm trying to get their attention. And I said, look, as you come through Glendale and Orderville, I counted more than 200 abandoned cars. I had blue tarps and everything. I swore I could hear banjo music. And you get my drift. You know, it just, and I'm going, you got to understand that there are people in these buses. I saw them. And they were a lot of Taiwanese people. I mean, the people Rachel's bringing into Utah. I saw these buses full of Germans and Taiwanese and Chinese people, and they're going down, and they're in the buses, they're going down taking pictures of all this stuff. And I go to the audience, do you understand that they're in these buses going, so this is how Americans live? And the audience reacted just like you just did. I said, no, that's not it. They're driving down this highway, and they're taking pictures. And they're thinking, whoa, so this is how the people of Utah live, huh? Then there was a little bit of a murmur. I said, no, that's not it. There's a tour guide on that bus. That tour guide is on the bus talking about how Brigham Young, the Mormon settlers came here, he sent people down to Orderville to create this new order. They're telling the history, and they're taking pictures going, this is how Mormons live. And the whole audience went, it finally got their attention. I had the same thing not far from you in Elmo in Cleveland. And so you have to understand that if you want people to spend money here, you got to be a place up here and go, whoa, we need to stop and check that out. Cowboy Kitchen. They have one pot on each side. I'd have pots every 3 feet all the way down that. And around the corner. And hanging baskets. And they may say, oh, you realize how much trouble this is and everything? I said, well, you probably triple your business.
So what do you do in the winter?
There's no reason. I do
for
whole
curb appeal. For curb appeal.
Yeah, I do whole workshops in the winter that show curb appeal, where you take those baskets and you have the cedar boughs in them. You know, I worked in a place in Texas, Fredericksburg, where they actually took all those baskets, they filled them full of pinwheels. And so they're all moving during the winter. And it made the national news. And every night they'd pick up the pinwheels so the kids wouldn't take them all, you know, but they just did other things. But you know what, and what I always say is, look, your peak season should be April 15th, tax day, April 15th through the end of October. So that's April, May, June, July, September, October. If you can get your season thinking past Memorial Day to Labor Day, 6 months, and actually boomers like traveling in November and they like traveling in March, you're not, you know, you don't have that much snow, I don't think. And so there's just no reason. I always think if you can create an 8-month season, you got it made. But if you're trying to rely on 90 days to make your whole business, not going to happen. You can't do it. You just can't generate enough sales to do it. So you got to say, how do we stretch our season to 8 months? And that does stretch into your shoulder season. And the boomers' best months for most popular months for travel are March, April, September, and October. They want to come when the crowds aren't here. And they have the most spending power. And so I think you need to say, how do we establish an 8-month season here in Wellington? How do we really be the provisioning headquarters and own 9 Mile Canyon experience? And then say, and by the way, you can rent an ATV. You pick your passion.
Because 9 Mile's open all year.
I know. Not every place is. It's incredible.
Yeah, but during the spring break, it's always the end of March.
Yeah, there's just no reason.
We get a lot of people out there direct.
Yeah.
And so it's spring break. So usually March is
yeah.
starting.
I mean, you get people even for Valentine's Day. You know, you'll get them the romantic escape. So there's all kinds of cool things you can do. But I just think you say, how do we monetize it? How do we monetize it? I mean, that's my favorite word in the world is monetizing it. Tourism is a means to an end. I mean, it's my life. I love it. It's a means to an end so that if you, heaven forbid, ever spend any money, in Provo, in Price, that's leakage. You're earning your money here, you're spending it somewhere else. Tourism is the purest way to get people to come and spend money and leave. We love it. We love it. And so that's what tourism is. It's about bringing more people in here. And then, by the way, if you provide them a great experience, they'll come back. And I'll make one other statement I've made in all three. We went to Price this morning. We just got done with Helper. And this is one thing I will tell you, is that marketing will bring people to Wellington once. That's it. Once. The only thing that ever brings them back is the experience. 9 Mile Canyon, ATVing, staying out the ranch, whatever it is. The complimentary activities while we're here. How is the food? Oh, that French fry ball was fantastic. You know what I mean? It's while we're here. And then the amenities, like was it easy to get visitor information? Were people helpful? And the people they interact with. And so that is where curb appeal, the people they interact with. We went to Cowboy Kitchen. Oh, I haven't been out there. And I think she grew up here. You know, so that's how important it is. So the state, the county can bring people out here, but they can only bring them out here once. It's up to you to provide the experience that brings them back. And that's why we're here to help you with that. So, one other thing you will probably hear is, and I don't know if this affects you, I told the county with the lodging tax dollars, transient room tax, is that those should not be grant funds. So if there are events and stuff that apply to the county to have grant funds to market their events, I think, no, the county should help market those events, and this money should be spent to help you have a better product. See what I mean? So if anybody ever comes out of the county and say, well, gee whiz, you don't care about us, and I hear this all the time, you know, you used to give us grants for to market our events and everything. And I'm saying I'd rather have them help you with wayfinding signage. I'd rather help them with other things that are going to get people to have a better experience. You know the sign that says, here's the first site, and it's the only one? I mean, come on, finish the job. I'd rather see the money spent in those kinds of things. I wouldn't expect, is it BLM? I wouldn't expect BLM to foot every single cent of the bill. I think you should be there with them and say, what can we do to help? You know, and if they say we have the budget and we're going to go do it, fantastic. But what else could you add? I mean, out there at the, what is it, the rest stop, campground, what is it, the picnic stop?
The Cottonwood Canyon.
Cottonwood Canyon.
Yeah.
I mean, I even thought, man, I think this is really a cool little place. I don't know if I even took other pictures of it. But I couldn't find any interpreters. I don't know what's there, what to do. I even thought, man, wouldn't it be cool if you had volunteers out there in the summer on the weekends that had a little tent and they just offered help for visitors. You know, and just, I mean, there's so many other things you can do to have people have a really great experience that they say, we got to go back again and again and again.
We have the coalition group and settlers, and they come out every year in September in the coalition, and they're all about the 9 Mile Canyon. So they bring all the people in, and they set up booths about the 9 Mile Canyon and history down there. Yeah. And they do that September 15th. And there's no reason
they can't monetize it. You bring in 6 food trucks. You bring in what, you know what I mean? Always monetize it. People are coming to Utah with a lot of money to spend. And I got to tell you, after assessing 75 towns in the state, there were times, every time we do an assessment, we always have a goal, my wife and I, of spending at least $300 in that community. We had very few communities in the state of Utah where we could find a place to spend $300. Besides lodging. That's like, oh my gosh. You know, because we don't want chains. We don't want stuff made in China. We want the candles made in a local shop. Or the beef jerky. I mean, right here on Highway 6, I think it's Highway 6, I think you're somewhere right down here, there's a guy that pulls over, or maybe it was, yeah, in Emory County, I think. Pulls over and he sells beef jerky. And of course, what do? We stop. We spent like $40 there. The guy on the side of the road.
It's pretty good too.
It is really good. He had like elk and venison, and I mean, it was very good. But those are the things we want.
That's what we want in our store.
Yeah, we don't, you know what?
Yes, yep.
Is there, what's in Miller's, is there like a Subway or something? What's in there?
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you this, that I'll give you one more. We work in Springdale. Springdale does not allow chains in their downtown, and I'm absolutely behind them on that. And I think, and I told this to Helper, they need to make sure that doesn't have, the more successful you are, the more likely you're gonna have a Dairy Queen in the middle of your downtown. Now you may be going, please give us a Dairy Queen. But in the case of Springdale, Subway sued them into submission, sued the heck out of that little town. And they just sued the city before the town said, all right, put in a Subway. And the Subway is right next to the entrance to Zion National Park. And they said, this is going to be the highest grossing Subway in the United States. It's barely staying alive because when we come to your town, and I have nothing against Subway. And right now I'm glad it's here because I don't know what else we could take with us that we could go out there and eat. You know, it's packaged up for us and everything. It's a picnic. We're going out there. But as a visitor, please give us something local. And that's why it's struggling in Springdale. No, they got great little shops, restaurant right across the street from us. It's a great little cafe. And that's what we want. That's what visitors want. They want what's local. They want what you have. And so I hope somebody gives Subway some competition. And I want them to do well. I'm really glad they're here. But I think there's an awful lot of people that say if I had my choice, I'd go the local route. Make sense? Any other questions I can answer? I just want you to know that we're here. When we did the assessment, the county paid 50% of it. It didn't cost Wellington 10 cents. The same with this visit. But I've heard a lot of people say, they ask the commissioners, what are you doing for us? And I got to say, you know what? You're in charge of your own domain. They represent the county. Tina is your new tourism director. She's fantastic. She really has your best interests at heart. All these county commissioners, I want them to do countywide wayfinding sign. I think it needs to be easier when they get here to find what you got and where it's at. So they have some big issues that they have to do. But at the end of the day, and the Utah Office of Tourism, I mean, they're paying 50% of this, and they put hundreds of thousands of dollars into this whole thing. Their job is to be the ad agency for the state of Union, for the state of Utah, but they understand that the state is only as good as the product, and the product is only as good as what the communities give them. And that's why we're here. And so I really want you to work with your businesses, make these places look appealing. When you go to TripAdvisor, I mean, if we need to hold a class, we have a video that tells you how to deal with TripAdvisor. It doesn't have to cost you a dime. But I've been to businesses in this county, and they go, what's TripAdvisor? Well, it's the most visited travel website in the world. You know, I used to sit on the board of TripAdvisor when it was a startup. And then, you know, Expedia bought it, and then Expedia spun it off, and now it's bigger than Expedia. But little things like that, I'm just going, guys, come on. So there's some great resources that I think the county in the future, classes, things like that, to really help your local businesses. I mean, nothing sells like photographs. When I look at TripAdvisor reviews your hotels and I see the photographs, or it's a dark hotel room, it looks dingy in the corners, that isn't doing it. That isn't cutting it. You know, and so little things like that make a world of difference.
Is that part of your video library?
Yes. By the way, your #1 social media site should be Instagram.
Instagram?
Instagram. So if you talk to millennials, you know what they will tell you? Facebook is where our parents go, but we're on Instagram. Now, let me talk about social media just for a minute, because I think it's important. Facebook, it's not about Wellington having a Facebook page. If you have one, that's great. Facebook is about sharing their experience with their friends and family. So, well, here's one for you. When people come into Wellington, if you put home of 9 Mile Canyon and put hashtag 9, numeral 9 MI Canyon or whatever, create a hashtag. Create a hashtag, put it on your gateway signs. So that when people post pictures to Facebook, to Twitter, to Instagram, to Pinterest, wherever they're using your hashtag. Otherwise, you're all over the place. But they don't know, is it 9 Mile, 9 N-I-N-E? Is it just 9? Is it 9 Mile, hashtag 9 Mile Canyon? Is it, you know, and I would, once you create a cool, and you might come up with something clever. 9 Mile Heaven, you know, I mean, I probably do Canyon, 9 Mile Canyon, make it plain and simple. You do hashtag 9 Mile Canyon, and then say, please share experience with your friends on Facebook, and share your photos on Instagram, hashtag 9 Mile Canyon, and the little @ symbol, Wellington. So the place identifier is Wellington, the hashtag is 9 Mile Canyon. Photography, and by the way, we took lots, you saw a lot of these photos, they're yours to use. And so if you want to use any of these photos, you can let Tina know, and I mean, even photos like this, I always try to do ones with people in them. But even photos like that, people go, oh my gosh, I want to ride that route. Or photos like this. I mean, look at that. Right there, when I showed this people, I'm a motorcyclist. When I showed this people, they go, where is that? But what would be even cool is if you could see a motorcycle actually going down the road. So these are photos that you put on Instagram. And on Instagram, you always use hashtag 9 Mile Canyon. Even if it's not in 9 Mile Canyon, it's still in the area. And then @ Wellington.
I just was having the experience of working with Duchesne County, because that's new for me, okay? So I say to them, we need to finish Gate Canyon, pave it, and I can see Harley groups coming down and going the loop around, you know? It's just there. It's there.
So for marketing, you want to do something fun, marketing that you could do locally? I mean, Tina, by the end of tomorrow, she's going to have a list and a headache. Is I believe in inviting. You could go online and look for clubs and organizations in Utah, and it will list the Hogs, Harley Owners Group, the Goldwing Association, car clubs. I mean, you know what?
And invite them.
Mercedes, BMW, Subaru, Volkswagen, they all have monthly newsletters, and they're looking for places to send their readers. And say, we want you to do an organized drive out to Wellington and 9 Mile Canyon. And they'll come from Provo, they'll come from Salt Lake, they'll come from everywhere, and they'll come out, they'll spend the night. Some will spend the night in Price, some will spend the night here. And then you say, okay, we're meeting at Miller's at 9 a.m., and we're going to drive they'll caravan out to 9 Mile Canyon in their convertibles or whatever cars they have, or their motorcycles. And you know what? All you have to do is send them an email and invite them. Doesn't cost any money. We even have that in video. We have a video called Marketing on a Minuscule Budget, and that's in there.
We get a lot of group sites from like that. A lot of group people that come there. Airstream Club.
Oh yeah,
comes out, legs, camp at our place, and we feed them Dutch oven dinner, take them on a tour, show them the canyon.
And you know what? Airstream people, highest in spenders. Airstream.
Oh yeah.
Airstream. Oh yeah, they're expensive, but they're nice. You know. But anyway, it's just, you know, these are things that you could do just locally. Say, well, we should invite some motorcycle clubs and everything. All you have to do is invite them. You know, and then they'll say, hey, and hey, if can we go over there to the National 9, and then we're going to fill the whole parking lot and do a motorcycle show, and then we're going to head out. I mean, those are the kinds of things you could do that will get people to spend a lot of time here and a lot of money. What's that?
Maybe set up some vendors in that.
Sure, bring in a few food trucks. I'll tell you a fun story. Is I was working in a place called Solvang, California, a little Dutch town in the central California. And when I went there, there was a car club there. Yeah, it's a great town. And there was all these cars there, and I was there, like I was doing an assessment there, and there was all these cars there, and I saw on a front bumper it said First Annual Wheels and Windmills Car Show, because it's a Dutch town. So I found the organizer of it, and I said, excuse me, why did you pick Solvang? And I thought they said, well, because it's a cute, touristy Dutch town. They said, well, because our Chamber of Commerce sent out letters and invited us. I said, what? Yeah, they just sent a letter and invited us. Said, hey, if you're ever looking for a place, I said, what did you say you would give them? Did you give them money? What did you say you give them? He said, what we said is we would put up welcome signs around town, And we would close off 3 blocks of Main Street for their event. That's it. I said, that's it? Yeah, we just invited them. And so they said, yeah, they just invited us. And I said, so who organized this? I said, we did, the car club, we did this. I said, but who brought in the porta potties? He said, oh, we did. What about all these vendors you have here? Oh, we did all of that. And who did all the marketing? Oh, we did all of it. We even marketed it to our car club and other car clubs in the region. And I said, so how many people are here? He says, oh, about 10,000. I said, when did you start? Well, they got here Thursday evening. So we filled up hotels Thursday evening. Our car show ran all day Friday, all day Saturday, and it's over at 2 o'clock on Sunday. And I said, so will you do it again? And they said, oh yeah, we've already booked this weekend for the next 10 years. It was a half-page letter. Hey, those are the kind of cool things, but now your merchants need to be ready for it. And even people on the Harleys, you know what? These people on Harleys, their $20,000 motorcycle is their toy. So these people still want some quality. So that's going to be really important. You know, I went into the Cowboy Kitchen and we ate in there, and it was pretty dark and kind of 70-ish a little bit. We're kind of in the back room, and it's, you know, when you walk in there, it's like, you know, you put some neon Budweiser or whatever, just some neon signs that just make it kind of cool and funky. It doesn't mean you're a booze place, but just do something to make it feel, because we felt kind of like, you know, and that's, some of those reviews said it's dark, it's dingy. Well, light it up a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to go spend millions of dollars, but I think some of your businesses don't do themselves any justice. When it comes to lodging, hire a professional photographer. It's worth it. I mean, it's the one thing you could do. I mean, you know, when you take a picture with your iPhone or whatever of a hotel room and it looks, you try to make it really wide angle so it looks big, you know what? People, even TripAdvisor will say that they get 600% more engagement when there's good photos. 600%. So it's really powerful.
It's about 5 or 10 minutes.
This is all low-hanging fruit. We're not coming into Wellington and saying you need Disneyland and water slides and a big downtown. I think what you got here is pretty amazing. You got lodging, you got some dining, and the way to get more is to make those so successful that more are going to come. See? So some of them need to raise the bar. And if it takes me, and I don't know, you know, I will say one thing, that working in Utah has been one of the toughest states I've ever worked in. It's my favorite state I've ever worked in. I could say that. You have the most diverse, spectacular landscapes of any place in North America. If you talk about the Bonneville Salt Flats, to the high mountain passes, Park City and the Wasatch Front, to the Red Rocks in southern, I mean, look at what you got here. What happens is the LDS Church is a church of volunteers. I grew up in that religion. How do you tell your home teaching family, your bishop, something that they have to move the abandoned cars? See what I mean? So what happens is, one of the toughest things we have in Utah is, how do you get your neighbor to clean up their stuff without feeling ostracized at church? See what I mean? And it's a church of volunteers, which means that everybody has callings. They all have jobs to do. And somehow somebody has to come in, and that's why I did that in Orderville. I said, if I have to be the heavy to come in and say, you can't do it this way, you can't, as an elected official, you're elected official, you know what, I try to say things you'd like to say, but can't without paying a political price. But at the end of the day, the only people that can pull people in these businesses' doors are those businesses. County can't do it, the town can't do it, they have to do it. And somebody has to step up and say, you know, I'm really, really sorry, hang it on me. If you want, take a picture or something, say, Roger, I'm emailing you a picture, give me your comments, and then it comes from me. I'll be the heavy. And none of this has to be expensive. That makes sense? So, another thing, on Instagram, they do little 1-minute videos. Mayor, I need you on video. You'd be a good spokesperson for them. You need your locals on video and say, hey, and just a little 1 minute. By the way, they usually go away after 24 hours. You can actually save them in Instagram. There's a whole video on this. But I'd love to see locals like yourself say, hey everybody, you gotta come out here. Look at where I am. I'm here and there's turkeys right out next to me, and I'm from Wellington. This place is spectacular. You gotta come out and visit us. Welcome. You know, just little things like that. We want it, none of it needs to be polished. It's just you inviting people to your community, and we relate to people more than places. Anything to add?
My only comment that was earlier when you talked about not stepping on other people's toes. What can I do that augments what happens here? From the private sector standpoint, the more the better. And some people get offended by saying this, but Springdale, you talk about Springdale all the time. What it was 25 years ago is not what it is today. 18 years ago, I opened the third guide business in Springdale. I was number 3. And we could not support the demand. I was the third one. There was already established. Jonathan Zambelli, who was there first, if you guys know anything about Zion, Zion Adventures, they do the best job of any guide company I've ever experienced. We opened the third one because the need was there. And so I guess my point on that is with all, with Rise and Wire, all shipped right together, right? And so you do it, you do your absolute best job. Heaven forbid there be 3 gear shops here in town selling all the same thing, because the diversity is there. Everyone's going to benefit, and the people who do the best job are going to benefit the most. So I wouldn't actually, you guys are going to like this, but don't worry about stepping on other people's toes. Do your best job, what you're passionate about, and you'll be successful. And that's for here, that's for Price, that's for Helper. That's for all of us. I wouldn't worry about it.
But I just think for you, leveraging 9 Mile Canyon is just like, hello.
Yeah.
What else do you have that could beat that?
We don't.
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's one of the state's best attractions. And it's not just at mile marker 21. It's there's 20 miles of it. That's spectacular. And what's really what the best thing is? You can go out Highway 12. Go through Escalante and go out there and go to Boulder and, end up in Torrey and all those places. Here, you know what? They go out there. Guess what? You get them both ways. They're coming back. Yep. I mean, how can you beat that? You get them on both ends. Have breakfast here. When you're done, have dinner. I just think it's like, hello. And it doesn't cost you any money other than getting people to come into your businesses. I'm glad you're going to do what you're going to do. People love spending money, but not a whole lot of choices here. Is there any retail in Wellington at all other than Miller's? Which stop?
Single
Single
stop.
stop.
But he lost.
Oh yeah.
He had his fuel tanks taken out. He's been out without fuel tanks for 3 years now. And I keep praying that somehow something's going to break for him and he'll get them put back.
I mean, you might have it
We only
Shell,
have one
but
place to buy fuel in Wellington, and that's Miller's.
what about the Shell station?
That's it.
That's the one.
That's
Oh, well,
it.
isn't there another one? Oh, no, they moved from the other Shells over to Miller's? I thought maybe it is just.
There was
I
a
guess.
Conoco in.
Oh, there was a Connie, that's
Yeah,
what.
but
Okay.
they're
They're gone.
capitalizing in.
Yeah, well, these days you have to understand that cars go a lot further on gas, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of different deals, a bunch of things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think that if you leverage this, think about how do we get people here 8 months a year. But at the end of the day, if you can get your business to be more successful, then I guarantee you there's going to be more businesses coming in and wanting to be here, and they'll start filling up empty spaces and things like that. Yeah, people are here to spend money. So, heard enough?
My brain is exploding.
I go
It's like
to
drinking out of a
that
fire
lights my
hose.
fire, and
I
then I
know,
go,
I'm excited.
who is it? Who is the right people that have a drive to want to? You know what I'm saying?
So, do you have things to write on? Let me give you my email address. I don't do this very often. I'm going to give you my email address, and if you have a question, you want a photo, you say, Roger, do you have an example of this? Email me. One thing I would tell you is it can take me 7 to 10 days to respond. So don't think I'm ignoring you. I get a lot of emails, and I respond to all my emails. My staff always says, Roger, can I just take over your email? So I said, no, this is my connection. It's Roger, R-O-G-R, no D in it. Roger at Roger Brooks, B-R-O-O-K-S, team, like football team.com. And say, Roger, I'm here in Wellington. I have a question for you. What do you think of this? And I will respond. We've been working with Utah Office of Tourism for the last 4 years. And there are people we met on day one 4 years ago in like Flaming Gorge. I don't call it Daggett County. That I still talk to. I've never charged them a dollar. So for me, I want to make a difference in your lives. This is not just about tourism. This is about the livability of your town. Quality of life. And to close, for the first time in U.S. history, quality of life is leading economic development. The way it always worked across this country is people went where the jobs were. And the jobs were next to rail line, freeways, waterways. It was mining, it was timber, it was fishing, it was agriculture. But now, if you're a place where people want to live, the jobs will go there. First time ever. And they're going to those kinds of places. I mean, you can't believe the number of jobs that are going into Ogden now. When everybody was going, Ogden?
Used to be the red light district.
Well, of course. Al Capone said it's a little too rowdy for my taste. He did. But that's leading economic development. So this is about that. The way to bring it back is you start with tourism. I'll be the first to say that tourism shouldn't be your only form of economic development. Let's start with that. Leverage something that's already here, make the best of it, and then you'll start adding more business. Because when you do your business, I'm telling you, we want you to succeed because success breeds success. Don't worry about stepping on somebody else's toes. You know what? If you had 20 candle shops here, you'd have people coming from everywhere around the world because you have more candle shops than any place on the planet. See what I mean?
Helper's not worried about all the.
Of course not. If they had 20 restaurants in downtown Helper, you'd have people come from Prover to Helper just for dinner. I mean, you can't worry about that. The more you have of stuff, the further people will come and the more money they'll spend. I mean, look, you know what?
Spanish work to go to places.
Oh yeah, why? You know what? I'll tell you this. Springdale has more retail sales per capita than any place in the state of Utah, including Salt Lake City. Now, I did say per capita.
Right.
They have more spending per capita than any place in Utah. Think about that. Wouldn't you like to have that problem? A population of 600. Did you know nearly 40% of people going to Springdale are now going to Springdale, and while they're there, they'll go into Zion? Same in Jackson, Wyoming. That's your goal. So take 9 Mile Canyon, just leverage the heck out of it, and then start filling your vacancies that way. Be that hub, that provisioning headquarters, you know, and then hey, even if we spend the night at the Holiday Inn Express, because maybe its quality's better, I don't even know if it is. And then we come out here, we still provision up here, which means we're not going to go shopping there, we're not going to go to Walmart, we're going to come out here, provision up local, and then we're going to head out there. That's how you start. And the cool thing is, start early, have breakfast here, and on your way back, stop for dinner. So.
And the more competition you have, your customer service goes up.
Of course! People always say, oh, if we bring in food trucks competing with our restaurants, I say, are you kidding? You know, it's a whole different experience. Yeah, I mean, the more you have of something, it's Helper in 3 or 4 years is going to be the #1 arch town in the state. And they'll have 10, 12 galleries there, which is more than anybody else. And, you know, maybe Park City, but that's a whole different experience. And I mean, you know what? The more you have of something, the further people will come, the longer they'll stay. But you got to start somewhere, and it's leverage what you got. So with that, yes.
Do you have an Instagram account?
I do, and
Wow, Roger.
if you email me, I know my Twitter account, Roger_Brooks, and that might be, I think it's Roger_Brooks_INTL. I think this is my Instagram account. I preach it, but I don't practice it. But I need to. I mean, my old staff say, Roger, take pictures, take pictures. You need to put pictures on Instagram. By the way, Instagram is really about quality photos. Did you find it in there?
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, just fine. And by the way, Instagram is a mobile device. They do have an online presence, but that's where you need to be. I mean, what you've got here, the visuals here are spectacular. So like the picture of the cows in the street. I mean, that's the stuff people just love. Particularly, now that time they're kind of offside. I would love it. I've been through here where you have, like, they're taking up the whole street. I think pictures like that are cool. You might think, you found it? Was I right?
You were right.
Okay, good. Dodge that bullet. But you as locals go, oh, cows out in the middle. As visitors, we think it's the coolest thing on the planet.
Because they don't get to see that every day.
No!
Then they have to go wash the cars after they've.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we
but anyway.
adds to the car wash, and then
There you go.
Yeah. And remember, you don't have to be spit and polish. You don't have to be spit and polish. As a matter of fact, we don't want that. I think Miller's the spit and polish, but I think, Cowboy Kitchen and all these other little places, like the little Mexican restaurant, I think it is what it is. I think it's really cute. Paint's good on it. It's colorful. So we don't expect everything to be bright and shiny. We just expect it to look inviting. And that's what's missing. You have to remember, women account for 80% of all spending. And they want to go in places that they go, that looks nice. Think about this. 70% of first-time sales come from curb appeal. 70%. We all travel. Have you ever said these words? That looks like a nice place to eat. When we have to go to TripAdvisor and we're second-guessing what people said, that's not a good thing. See what I mean? Oh, that looks like a nice place to eat. Let's go there. Then you don't have to worry about TripAdvisor. And that's what's missing. So with that, thank you so much for coming out this afternoon. Thank you very much. Like Southwest Airlines says, you're free to go.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Thank you.
Taking the time.